Long ago, in a quiet fishing village by the great river, people feared the waters as much as they loved them. Fishermen sang before casting their nets, women whispered prayers before fetching water, and children were warned never to swim too far. The river was alive, they said. It had ears, eyes, and a memory. One boy would soon learn this truth more painfully than anyone else. His name was Obinna, the only son of a poor widow. Hungry, desperate, and mocked by the village, Obinna went to the river one fateful evening. There, he saved a mermaid entangled in a broken net. In gratitude, she offered him 7 shining shells, each more beautiful than the last. But her words lingered like a shadow, 7 shells for 7 wishes. But remember, when the 7th breaks, the river will come for you. And so began the story of the 7 shells, a tale of greed, curses, and the heavy price of gifts from the deep. Welcome to African Story by Ria Man. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you never miss any of our emotional and unforgettable stories. Obinna was no stranger to hunger. His stomach often growled louder than his voice, and the other boys laughed at his torn clothes. His mother, Ngozi, did her best to keep him alive with meager earnings from selling firewood. But the more she struggled, the more the villagers mocked them. One evening, after being beaten by older boys for stealing a roasted yam, Obinna wandered to the riverside. The setting sun painted the waters red. He sat on the rocks, crying. That was when he heard it, a soft cry, like a woman in pain. At first, he thought it was an echo of his sorrow, but then he saw her, a young woman thrashing in the water, trapped in an old net. Her hair shimmered like wet silk, and her eyes glowed faintly. Obinna, frightened yet moved, rushed to help. He tore at the net with his bare hands until his fingers bled. At last, the woman slipped free, her form dissolving into silver scales. She rose from the river, no longer human. A mermaid. "Why did you help me, boy?" she asked, her voice both gentle and terrifying. "I know what it is to be trapped," Obinna whispered. The mermaid studied him, then smiled. She reached into the waves and brought out 7 shells, glowing like tiny moons. 7 shells for 7 wishes. Each one will break when your desire is fulfilled. But beware, child, when the 7th breaks, the river will come for you. Before Obinna could reply, she was gone, leaving the shells in his trembling hands. That night, he hid them in a calabash under his sleeping mat. He could hardly believe what he had seen. But hunger does not wait for dreams. By dawn, he whispered over the first shell, "I wish for food, food that will never finish." The shell cracked like dry palm kernel. Moments later, baskets of yam, cassava, and fish appeared outside their hut. Ngozi screamed, thinking it witchcraft. But Obinna told her it was a blessing from the river. For weeks, they ate like kings. Neighbors came to borrow food, and Obinna gave freely, his heart swelling with pride. But soon whispers spread, "How can a widow's son have endless food?" Suspicion grew. Men muttered that he had joined dark powers. Obinna tried to ignore them, but fear crept in. He remembered the mermaid's warning. Still, he told himself, what harm could one wish bring? The endless food soon turned into endless envy. One night, thieves raided Ngozi's hut, carrying away baskets of yam and smoked fish. When Obinna chased them, they beat him until he bled. Lying weak by the river the next day, Obinna clutched the 2nd shell. His voice was bitter. "I wish for strength, strength that no man can defeat." The shell cracked. A strange heat coursed through his veins. When he returned to the village, the same thieves came again. This time, Obinna fought like a whirlwind. His fists struck like stones, and his cries echoed like thunder. The men fled in terror. From that day, no one dared mock him. But strength made Obinna proud. He walked through the market with his head high, daring anyone to cross him. His mother warned him softly, "Pride walks ahead of a fall, my son." But he did not listen. Then came the third wish. One market day, Obinna saw Adiz, the daughter of a wealthy trader. She was beautiful, with skin like fresh palm wine. But she laughed when he greeted her. "What can a poor boy offer me?" she mocked. Shame burned him. That night, Obinna gripped the third shell. "I wish for riches more than any man in this village." The shell cracked. By morning, gold ornaments, silk cloth, and heavy cowries filled their hut. Ngozi wept with both joy and fear. But Obinna rejoiced, dressing in fine robes, buying slaves, and building the largest compound in the village. When Adiz saw his wealth, her tune changed. She smiled at him sweetly, her voice soft. Soon, her father agreed to give her in marriage. Obinna believed his life was perfect. Food, strength, wealth, and now love. He forgot the warning, "When the seventh breaks, the river will come for you." Villagers who once mocked him now bowed before him. But Adiz was not content. She wanted more jewelry, more lands, more servants. "Other villagers must fear you," she whispered. "You should be king." Her words poisoned Obinna's heart. That night, he clutched the fourth shell. "I wish for power to rule over men." The shell cracked. The next moon, the village chief fell sick and died suddenly. The elders, fearing Obinna's strength and wealth, named him the new chief. Obinna's power grew like fire in dry grass. He became harsh, demanding tribute, punishing any who disobeyed. His mother watched with sorrow, knowing the river's gifts had twisted her son. Still, Adiz pushed for more. "Your name must live forever. What is wealth and power if you have no children?" Obinna's joy darkened. For months, Adiz's womb was silent. Desperate, he reached for the fifth shell. "I wish for sons, strong sons to carry my name." The shell cracked. Soon, Adiz conceived and bore twins. Obinna danced, his pride complete. He named them Chaik and Chakwudi, parading them before the villagers as proof of his greatness. But Ngozi trembled. "Obinna, my son, 5 shells are gone. Only 2 remain. Do you not fear the river's warning?" Obinna laughed. "Mother, the river is my friend. Have you not seen how it blesses me?" But that night, as he slept, he dreamed of the mermaid. She stood at the riverbank, her eyes like cold fire. "5 shells gone," she whispered. 2 remain. Remember the debt." Obinna woke sweating, but he dismissed it as a foolish dream. Years passed. Obinna's power stretched beyond his village. Traders bowed before him, warriors swore loyalty. But power breeds enemies. Neighboring chiefs grew jealous. One night, raiders struck, burning farms and slaughtering villagers. Obinna fought fiercely, but the enemy numbers were great. His warriors begged him to surrender. Adiz wept, clutching the twins. Driven by fear, Obinna seized the 6th shell. "I wish for victory over all my enemies." The shell cracked like thunder. The ground shook, and the river roared louder than ever before. A sudden storm rose. Lightning struck the raiders' camp, and floodwaters swept them away. Obinna's enemies drowned, their bodies washing to shore by morning. The village hailed him as a god. Songs praised his name. But Obinna felt no peace. The river's voice haunted him in the night. "1 shell remains." Soon after, strange misfortunes struck. Crops failed. Livestock died without cause. The river overflowed, drowning children who played too close. Whispered rumors spread. The chief has angered the river spirits. Ngozi confronted her son. Obinna, can you not see? The river does not give without taking. End this now. Return the shells. But Obinna shook his head. Mother, I have one wish left. With it, I will secure my legacy forever. Then nothing can harm me. That night, the mermaid appeared again in his dreams. Her face was sorrowful. Obinna, child of dust, you were kind once. You saved me, and I blessed you. But you let greed blind you. When the seventh shell breaks, the river will claim all you love. Turn back now. Obinna woke trembling, yet his pride was stronger than his fear. He swore he would use the last shell wisely, not knowing it would destroy everything. Obinna could not escape the whispers of the river. Every time the wind rustled through the palm trees, he thought he heard the mermaid's voice. Every ripple on the water seemed to call his name. Still, he hardened his heart. I will not bow to fear. One shell remains. With it, I will make my name eternal. The village was restless. Hunger and sickness spread, and some dared to murmur against him. Adiz grew cold, complaining of his long nights and endless worries. His twins, now young boys, played at the river's edge though their grandmother begged them to stay away. Ngozi, weary and frail, pleaded once more. My son, the river's gifts are poisoned. Stop before it is too late. But Obinna silenced her. Mother, I began this journey for us. I cannot stop now. One stormy evening, Obinna went to the riverbank alone. He held the last shell in his palm, its glow brighter than the others had been. The river swirled violently, as if waiting. He raised the shell and spoke. I wish for immortality. I wish for a life beyond death, a name that cannot fade. The shell cracked with a sound like thunder. The river roared, waves rising higher than ever before. Lightning tore the sky open, and the air grew heavy with the scent of salt and blood. From the depths rose the mermaid, her eyes blazing with sorrow and fury. Foolish child, she said, her voice carrying like a drumbeat. I gave you gifts to test your heart. But you chose greed over gratitude, pride over humility. You asked for life eternal, but what you shall have is memory eternal, a curse, not a blessing. The water churned violently. Obinna staggered, trying to resist the pull of the current. No. You promised, but his words drowned in the wind. Behind him, in the village, screams rose. The river broke its banks, surging like an angry beast. Huts collapsed, farmlands sank, and families were swept into the dark waters. Ngozi clutched her grandsons, praying desperately. Adiz screamed Obinna's name, but the flood silenced her voice. One by one, lives vanished into the raging river. Obinna fell to his knees at the water's edge. The mermaid loomed over him, her scales shimmering with cold light. 7 shells. 7 wishes. 7 debts. Now the river takes what is owed. Before he could move, the water swallowed him whole. The last thing Obinna saw was his mother's face in the distance, her hands raised toward the heavens, her tears mixing with the rain. When the storm ended, silence blanketed the land. The once lively village was gone. Only broken huts, floating corpses, and shattered canoes remained. The survivors wailed, their cries echoing across the ruined fields. Ngozi stumbled through the wreckage, calling her son's name. She found Adiz's lifeless body near a fallen palm, her fine clothes torn and soaked. The twins were gone, claimed by the river's hunger. Her heart shattered. Still, she searched, limping toward the riverbank. There, she saw it, a mound of shells glowing faintly in the mud. Not 7, but countless. Each one cracked, each one whispering faint echoes of wishes long gone. The mermaid appeared once more, rising from the waters. But this time, her face was sorrowful, not angry. "Mother," she said softly, addressing Ngozi. "Your son was kind when he saved me. But greed blinded him. I warned him, yet he chose his path. Now the curse is fulfilled." Ngozi fell to her knees, her voice breaking. "Take me too, spirit. Take me, for I cannot live without them." The mermaid shook her head. "No. You must live. You must tell their story, so others may learn. Let the name of Obinna be remembered, not as a hero, but as a warning." And with that, she sank back into the depths, leaving only ripples behind. For years, Ngozi wandered from village to village, carrying the tale of her son. She told how he saved a spirit, how he was given 7 shells, and how each wish led him deeper into pride and ruin. Children sat wide-eyed by the fireside as she spoke, elders sighed, and mothers warned their sons. 7 shells, she would whisper, for 7 wishes. But no gift from the river comes without a price. When Ngozi finally died, she was buried by the river. On moonlit nights, villagers swore they saw her ghost sitting by the bank, weeping into the waves. They said her tears kept the river calm, preventing it from rising again. But the curse lingered. Every generation, a boy from Obinna's bloodline would wander too close to the river. Some drowned mysteriously, others vanished without a trace. The elders said the debt could never be fully paid. And so, the 7 shells became a legend, told in whispers, sung in dirges, carved into the memory of the land. A tale of greed, loss, and the terrible price of bargains made with the deep. The moral lesson is that no wealth, no strength, no power, and no immortality can be gained without cost. The gifts of spirits are sweet at first, but bitter in the end. Obinna's story lives on as a warning: be content with what you have. For the river remembers, and the river always collects its debt.